Okay. All right. Well, let's see how this goes. I guess I should I guess I should actually post. Let people know I'm doing this. Bum, bum, bum. I'm doing this. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Stream some map making. Map making. And world building. You gotta use the word world building. That's the hot word. Nobody cares about drawing. Nobody cares about game design. None of that stuff. Everyone wants to build worlds, whole worlds. Uh, On my YouTube, and then I guess I should probably also add some kind of image to this. All right. Okay. Oh, look, we've got Joe the Spectre, and we've got Golden Grim. Hello. How are we doing? All right. Let me open up. Still getting used to how to do all this nonsense. All right. How are we doing? Alejandro, nice to see you. Doing great, working on a map for a Wild Sea campaign. Oh, that's really cool. I have a sea map that I made. I don't know that it's on this computer, but a while ago, this is years ago actually now, there's this podcast that I listen to called Monster Man, and he kind of said like there just aren't really any really good oceanic campaigns to contend with how many aquatic monsters there are in the early Monster Manual books that he was reviewing. And it just seemed like there was an awful lot, a big assumption that lots of things were going to happen at sea, but then, you know, there aren't really too many iconic adventures to go along with it. So I thought, ooh, let me actually draw a map that will fill that in. And to see how much of that we can actually accomplish with just a good map. So let me download it here from my Google Drive. And then I'll pull it up here. Okay. Here we go. So I ended up calling this the Wine Dark Sea, and yeah, just kind of tried to put in as many of these. Golden Grim says that reminds me I need a map for my pirate campaign. Well, yeah, it's because it's if you think about a map of an ocean, you're really talking about a map with some islands and a bunch of empty space. So I thought, well, like, what is the all killer no filler version of an ocean map that I could make? So I had this idea that a lot of the quests would kind of start. David, happy Friday. A lot of the quests would start at the jaundiced organ market of Bilirubin, which it's Bilirubin is I think when I looked it up, I was looking for like weird whaling terms, and it's like some specific kind of thing that is pulled out from animals and or whales and things like that. It's like a kind of blubber or oil or fat or something like that. And so yeah, from here you could kind of like pick where you wanted to go. You wanted to go check out I have this idea of like the aquatic version of the Plateau of Leng is here, because in all of my campaigns I have giant spiders that actually are very industrious traders. They create textiles and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, oh, that would be fun to have there. The Watcher in the Tower of Pearl is a reference to some old Tolkien poetry, stuff like that. Old Lucky it's just this enormous kind of like horseshoe crab / lobster thing. The alchemical pyramids. I tend to lean into portmanteaus whenever I can, just because it's a lot of fun. But it doesn't always match the tone of everybody's campaign. But I think that's one of the things that you can do to kind of stick out and let people know that, this is sort of like just a fun setting. If you put in a lot of puns and everything like that. The fruited polypus bird sanctuary. So like this idea of these horrible Lovecraftian monsters are also like this, where all these different seabirds live. And then the time sick Caspak, which is a reference to an Edgar Rice Burroughs series of novels. It's very one of the many forgotten world like dinosaur island kind of things. So just kind of like thinking through like what are all and then this is the wondrous wizard prison of Tartarus. It's just this enormous walking skeleton unicorn that has like all of these hanging cages that have like all the most dangerous wizards hanging in it as sort of like this living mega prison that has all these weird ghosts guarding it and everything like that. The crab vortex. But yeah, just kind of going through and thinking about what are the cool ideas that I could have that sort of like make sense with just an image and a nice evocative title. I still steal ideas from this, like the hissing nunnery. This idea that like there's all these Medusas and Gorgons and snakes and everything that are all kind of busy doing these weird prayers and everything. It's something I've stolen from several campaigns. So it was just a fun idea that I think when I go to I think you can actually buy a print version of this map from my Etsy page, which should be relaunching soon. I'll certainly have them at the table when I am tabling at Gen Con. Um, Goolif says, "Heyo, Map Crow, love your vids. Just picked up Flea Mortals from your recommendation. Oh yes, I'm so glad. I love the MCDM stuff, and yeah, I find I love the action oriented monster design that they have, and I think their art team is really special. I they come up with really familiar yet inventive spins on a lot of old monsters. I think the Lightbender is kind of their take on the Displacer Beast from Dungeons and Dragons, and I think the Lightbender is one of the coolest monsters I've ever seen. Actually, do I have Flea Mortals on this computer? Let me see. I do. Yes. Okay, so let me just pull up Lightbenders so you can see what I'm talking about. It's all alphabetical is the nice thing. Let me know if the volume needs to change on... there's allegedly some music playing right now that I don't think you can hear it. Goblins. Harpies. I think we're at lizard folks. Here we go. The Lightbender. This bad boy right here is... oh man, my Adobe Acrobat does not like being streamed. It's freaking out. But this bad boy, not only is this just an absolutely incredible illustration and a super cool monster design, but dang, they also like have rules that allow you to have this as like an animal companion for your ranger and or beast heart, and that's super cool. Because yeah, what could be? But before I lose my stream, I'm going to close that. I wish the only thing that I wish was different about Flea Mortals is if there were artist credits underneath all of the illustrations. It's kind of gone out of style to do that for some reason, but even like the fourth edition Monster Manual had credits for all of the artists underneath all of the illustration. I think that's a really cool way to go about it. But nowadays, a lot of artists, if they really care about that kind of stuff, there's nothing stopping them from putting their initials in the spot illustration and all that kind of stuff. So it's not really a big deal. But I just out of pure nosiness, I want to know who did all these illustrations. Yeah, David. The Adobe was making it an immersive experience. It's bending the light. Okay. All right. So today I wanted to kind of pick up where I left off. So I've streamed a couple of times, and the first time, couple of weeks ago, I streamed on YouTube, and then I tried to stream on Twitch, and that was really fun. But also the video is already gone, and so as much as I kind of like Twitch, I do think that it sort of eats the videos up, it gobbles them up, and if I want my videos to go away, I can always delete them myself. But it's sort of, I don't know. I'd like to stick around for a bit longer and have an archive of some of these things. So on that missing Twitch stream, this now legendary Twitch stream, I made so I have this big map that I want to fill in with all these different locations, and I just started by thinking about like, okay, so if this is a sort of like a dark fantasy monster hunting campaign, we would start at this castle called Tanner's Keep, this kind of like busted castle where this kind of disgraced order of knights called the Tanners make their living by hunting monsters and then tanning their hides and kind of like selling those as a sort of a way of keeping the money flowing in, because their kind of monster haunted land isn't bringing in a whole lot of taxes and all that kind of stuff. So that's the general idea, sort of like a Order of Knights version of the Witchers. You might think of it that way, although there's not nearly as much like mutations and things like that. So here I drew the nearby town, and I had this idea that they have like this really nice cathedral that's been recently finished, and it's all of the bricks are pointed and everything, and but then if you look at the actual buildings in the village, they're all kind of like busted up and everything like that. So again, kind of giving the idea that perhaps the only people that are making out very well here is this church. And I have some ideas for what factions are kind of like benefiting from all of this kind of stuff. And why the church is doing so well and what their plan is, but we don't need to go into it now. And I had this idea for just this whole petrified forest called the Column Grove, which would be a great place for like a cockatrice or a gorgon or a basilisk to hang out, something like that. Bula Beeler says, Mr. Map, Mr. Crow? Just Kyle will do, actually. But the question is, are there any YouTubers that I would want to collab with? I would like to collab with lots of folks. I don't really have the time, unfortunately. I am actually a full-time professor of game design and game art in Columbus, Ohio, which keeps me very busy. It's a brand new program with lots of new classes that need to be planned and run for the first time and changed and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, the days when I had all of this extra time to make videos and play games and collaborate with folks and do all this freelancing work has come and gone. But with the state of higher education in America, it may just be a matter of time before I find myself with more time on my hands. As far as YouTubers collaborations go, I mean, I'm already on the hook to draw a big world map for Matt Colville and MCDM. So that's really exciting and really fun. I'm looking forward to. Right now, they're going through a process where they're sorting out all this other stuff that they're working on. Before kicking off my project, because it's sort of like my map that I'm doing, I think is primarily just a sort of like for the special edition box set. It might turn into something else, who knows. I've heard lots of different ideas floated, but it hasn't started yet, and I'm looking forward to starting that. And then I did get a chance to collaborate with Ben Milton, and I did a wonderful, I had a chance to do a dungeon map and the hex map for the end papers for Knave second edition. And that really means a lot to me, because Questing Beast is I think one of the reasons why I'm doing this and why I kind of sought out all of these, why I sought out game design in the first place, is because just all of the beautiful books and art that was shown on that channel was super inspirational. It kind of showed me that I had a place in the in the RPG. So because I don't do a lot of digital painting, although I'm working digitally now to try to try to improve all on that. I do work traditionally, which is wonderful, and it has gotten me work that isn't always available to digital artists. But also, it's if I want to work on a giant map and I don't want to have to, I don't need a giant drawing table to work on it. I may as well figure out how to start working digitally. So I hope that answers your question. I would love to. I think there might actually be a map that I am working with on for Professor Dungeon Master, but I think that's still early days on that. And there's just sort of like a mutual interest in working together. So yeah, I would love to collaborate more, but unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of time to do that. And as far as like making videos with other people, when I want to collaborate and talk to other people, that's what I have my podcast for. But when I sit down and want to, one of the things I like about making YouTube videos is just a chance to keep all of my thoughts together and organize them, and no one gets to interrupt me. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Josh is saying full-time professor. So Dr. Mapcrow, I actually, so I have an MFA. I got my MFA in interdisciplinary visual arts with a focus on game design as a fine arts practice from the University of Cincinnati. It was an uphill battle to get them to recognize games as a fine arts practice. But I did my work, and I had a very successful time in that in that program. Although I think they would rather no one ever did that again. That was the impression I got. So if you get a doctorate, you get to call yourself a doctor, and so if you get a master's degree, an MFA specifically, which is a terminal degree in the arts, and the practicing arts, that's the highest degree you can get. Technically speaking, my title would be Magister. So if you really wanted to use an honorific, Magister Mapcrow it will do. Captain Comet says, oh my goodness, hello Captain Comet. Oh my goodness, it's been so long. Glad to see you out and about. Always treat to when your videos pop up. Yeah, I hope this summer to get back to more of them. And then yes, cool. Follow-up question from Bula Beeler. Have video games lost any of the magic with your job being what it is? No. I think if anything, they seem far more magical. There's a book called The Theory of Fun by Raph Koster that I teach frequently. And I actually got a chance to talk with him and ask him some questions when I recently went to the Game Developers Conference, GDC, in San Francisco a few weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. But he in his book, he kind of talks about how there's a lot of attention paid to the metaphor of games, kind of like what is what are the stories, what are the art, what is all this kind of cool stuff, the lore, and the truth is, well, from his point of view, he says that's not really what games are about. Games are about their mathematical systems and their patterns, and then we kind of layer on this kind of icing, but the cake itself is sort of the math design of the system of the game. And whenever I teach this point of view to my students, most of them don't really buy it. They don't really believe me until they learn programming, and then it all clicks. And then you really get to see, like, okay, so like designing games is hides his eyes. Oh, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you for coming in. So yeah, you just find out how hard it is to make these things and how abstract they are to actually put into action. And one of the reasons why I like tabletop RPGs so much is they're not nearly as difficult to make happen as video games are. Although I am I do really enjoy. I just actually re-downloaded Unity today. I thought maybe instead of streaming, I would get some programming done for some to prepare for next semester. But no, I find there's another really wonderful article that you can look up by Greg Kostikian, or Kostikian, depends on, I guess, where you put the emphasis. And he has this wonderful article from several years ago called "I Have No Words, Yet I Must Design," about kind of the state of where game design was when he was working on in tabletop RPGs and early video games. He worked on like the Star Wars RPG for West End and the Willow RPG and things like that. And he found himself like he needed a robust language to talk about what he was doing, but there was no real academic need for it. So we're in a very different place now, with kind of the combination of the academic study of games and its usefulness to practitioners. But so no actual drawing. Yeah, I'm gonna draw. I'm sorry. I mean to draw. I was just chatting away. But yeah, no, we're gonna draw today. I actually need to decide what I want to draw. I was just getting all lecture-y, which is all too easy for me to do. So apologies. But as far as what drawing I want to do, this is kind of like I was at an impasse. I mean, I don't really feel like sitting here and like filling in, like just doing a bunch of generic mountains and trees or kind of filling in this work. I kind of want to do something a bit juicier than that. Brithgard says, just popped in. Got to say how I love you drew that windmill in the mire. Thank you. Let the Magister speak. Oh no, I've set a dangerous precedent. But maybe just while we're chatting, I can do some just mountains. Okay. What size? Oh, right. Okay. All right. So I need to select this layer, and I'm going down to an 8 pixel, and then the trick is not to zoom in too much. Let's tilt that. Okay. Intense game philosophical discussions, yes. Davizar asks, have I ever done any sci-fi maps? Yes, although I don't enjoy it as much. I enjoy kind of like organic fluid shapes. Let me see here. Let me just rough this in. And I find that there's just too many harsh shapes in I don't really like getting a ruler out for drawing time. Although that might change now that I'm trying to work digitally more often. But I think if I was going to do more sci-fi maps, I would probably do more like ASCII graphics and things like that for like a mothership game. So I have a couple of different sci-fi maps episodes in the map making play lists, though I think they're fairly old at this point. Mighty Pepe, hello. Nice to see you. Captain Nolan says titles master's degree are commonly used. Yes, commonly titled using master of. Whereas the faculty, yes, yeah. That is how it's done nowadays, but in the good old days, it was magister. It might have been just like in one place at one point in history, but I remember looking that up and being particularly tickled by it because I'm a big Dragon Age fan. So that was, I thought that was funny. I actually insist that all of my students just call me Kyle. That is, after all, my name. And especially in the games industry, you don't really do titles or Mr. or Miss or anything like that. So like the sooner you get used to calling people by their first name or just asking people what they want to be called and calling them that, the better. But there's, a lot of them grew up here in the Midwest and sort of like are not sure. Then some people still call me like professor and things like that, and I'm like, please just call me Kyle. I got into this to make I got into teaching because I enjoy it, and I wanted to make it easier to learn the arts and do cool creative stuff, not to seek my fortune at the top of some kind of hierarchy. You know what I mean? I said I didn't want to zone out and draw a bunch of mountains and forests and everything, but it is actually quite relaxing and fun. Maybe I'm turning a corner on that. And it's certainly easier to talk to people while just drawing kind of a bunch of random natural shapes than it is trying to think about a next big complicated illustration. Let's zoom out and make sure it still reads. Yeah, that's a mountain, for sure. Maybe I'll start adding some color later tonight. Who knows? What's up, Kyle? Yeah. Magister just makes me think of Magister Ludi by Hermann Hesse. What is that? That name is familiar, but I don't. I'm not clocking it right now. Alejandro says, you probably answered this question a million times, but what are your line art brush settings? So I got, so I'm actually very new to most of the work. All of my published work was drawn with Micron pens. But nowadays I'm working with these pen settings that I got on, it's a bunch of manga pens from, I forget what his name is, Kyle Baker. I don't remember the fellow's last name, but he has, nowadays, if you just have your Creative Commons login, there's all these different really cool brushes to use, and I am using where is it? Newsprint. Where is it? Yeah, I think I'm using Newsprint Grit 1 right here. So yeah, I like it because it is it's nice dry media stuff. Although I think I drew all this without it. I think that was just a round brush right there. Oh well. It just adds a little bit of texture to it, but apparently I need to actually switch back to what I wanted it to be. Newsprint Grit. Yeah, there we go. That's what I want. So it just adds a little bit of tooth to it, which I really enjoy as a recovering traditional artist. Kyle Webster. Yes, thank you so much, Mighty Pepe. Yeah, miss drawing as much as I used. Yeah, it's you get into that zone, you get into that flow state, and there's nothing like it. It really is just very delightful. But you have to, if you didn't start when you were very young, it can be difficult to kind of get past that point where it feels like everything you're doing is wrong. It's difficult to learn new things, and it's difficult to get to have patience with yourself if you're starting out at the bottom rung on something. But it sounds like you used to do it a lot, so that's probably not the issue. It's probably just a matter of time. But yeah, I like to make projects for myself. That's one of the ways that I kind of like maintain some level of self-direction, and so-called productivity is like everything I do I intend on releasing to the public in some way, whether it is a zine or some kind of map that I'm going to print off or something like that. So that kind of keeps me motivated, because I get really excited about it's like, oh man, I can't wait for people to see this. And it keeps me from going like, well, it's just a personal project and petering out, you know what I mean? Let's see. Unvanced has said, how has Monstrous development been processing? Played the Zweihander starter kit you drew. Oh, thank you. Monstrous is finished. The book is done. It is actually on a boat right now, heading to the U.S. It was at a printer in Lithuania that came highly recommended from some other creative friends of ours. And we saw the print proofs, and we're very excited about seeing this book. And now we just play the waiting game. So there's a couple of things that I still need to draw for it. I still need to draw a map for one of the trifold adventures that we promised in the Kickstarter, and I still need to draw a couple of small illustrations of creatures to kind of like fill in the blank spots. But that's like a 2-week turnaround, and we're not planning on shipping that out until early summer at the earliest, when the thing actually gets here. So I'm taking some time to just sort of like have fun and try to go easy on myself during my teaching semester. But thank you for the kind words about the Zweihander or starter kit. I was very, very happy with that project, and that was the second time I had the great pleasure of working with James Intercasso on a project. We worked on previously we worked together on Eternal Night of Lockwood, which was another Zweihander game, a big deal kind of campaign setting. So I got to do several maps for that, including the town map, but also lots of little call out maps and stuff like that. And I love working with James, and Deanne Mandick is the other interior artist for Zweihander that I really, really admire that guy's work, which is the whole reason I took the gig, because I was just like, holy cow, you mean to say that I have the option to put my line art next to Deanne's work? Okay, yes, please. That's sort of like a big reason why I took the Knave job as well. It's not only do I really like Ben Milton's work, but also he got Peter Cullen, I believe, who's is this fantastic artist, does a lot of illustration for Goodman Games, and I'm just such an enormous admirer of that guy's work. Even if I don't remember his name, I remember the line art is locked in the vault. Let's see here. Talking about free time evaporating, got discouraged because I can never get any kind of work done. Yeah, I mean, it's I have pretty intense ADHD myself. So task switching. I really need to have like several hours in a row where I'm working on something, as opposed to just like, catching 20 minutes here and there to work on something. So yeah, I think I know what it's like to if I only had like 20 spare minutes here and there to work on things, that would be very difficult. I would have to really rethink what kinds of projects I would even be able to do. So I hear you, but for most of my art career, including right now, I've had a day job, so just fighting for that time is an eternal struggle. Peter Mullen, thank you. Yes, I see we have individuals of discerning taste in chat. Peter Mullen, I knew that. Yeah, Peter Mullen. Holy moly, what a talent! What a luminary. I just adore the heck. I would eat his art with a knife and fork if it would allow me to put those shapes in my brain. I actually got to meet him at Gen Con several years ago, and I had a friend, and we were oogling over some originals that were for sale at the Goodman Games, and I really wish I would have had the money to buy some originals at the time, but I was underemployed at that time, and I was kind of just like talking about how wonderful the guy's work was. So this guy walks up while I'm going on this weird rant about Peter's work, and he says, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "No, I'm just looking at this art." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm Peter Mullen. I did this." And I was like, I totally nerded out. I come from my history as an artist. I started in comic books, and there were so many important comic artists that died, that were worked in the Silver Age and Bronze Age, that just passed before I could tell them how important their work was to me. So anytime I get to talk to an artist that has brought me great joy, I just embarrass myself by gushing on them, because I might never get the chance, and that would make me very sad. So I took the opportunity to perhaps risk making the situation a bit uncomfortable with all of the effusive praise, but you gotta take the opportunities when they arise. A Spork says, "Dang, I missed most of the stream." I think we're here now, and I'm not going anywhere. I think you're actually towards the beginning of the stream. We've only been at this for 40 minutes. I don't know. I'll probably be here for another hour at least, if not longer. So. Let's see here. Oh no. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I perhaps I speak too soon. Let me. Oh my goodness. I need to get going. I'm so sorry, everyone. I need to leave. I totally missed. totally missed something on my schedule, and now I must go. So I do apologize. I have a prior engagement that I was just re-alerted to, and I feel like a doofus. But I'll do this again soon. So until next time, my friends, farewell.